What's good, family? What's good, man? I hope y'all having a blessed Thursday night. Some of y'all getting off of work. Some of my night shift folks or family probably just getting ready to go on to, night shift, graveyard shift, man. I appreciate you. Y'all make sure y'all hit my like button, share, subscribe, man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. And of course, I have my co-host, Mr. Southern himself. I am greatness. Coach 67 Sports TV. What's going on, brother?
Man, I'm blessed and highly favored. Hopefully, all is well with you and your family. Hopefully, all is well with everybody that's gonna come over and check out the live stream. Hopefully, y'all doing well, blessed and highly favored. I'm blessed and highly favored. The fanatics are in the building. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah, they.
Yes, yes, sir, man. There's a lot of interesting things. I'm gonna save it for when we get to the topic, but a lot of prayers have been answered because some results have been happening for certain ball clubs. So they sat down a certain coach. Well, we gonna talk about it. We gonna talk about it. But y'all know what it is. We're gonna go straight to the Division II HBCUs. My brother Jay the Six, my Carolina brother in the building. He says, "Yo, yo, yo, what's going on, man? Thank you for coming by, bro." And he is please make sure you support his channel. He is a content creator. Also, he's part co-host of Big Red's Big Boy Talk. Him along with Brandon, aka 86 Go. So y'all support all them brothers' channels. Uh, but let's get into some of the scores, man. We're gonna do the CIAA first, man. Uh, so Elizabeth, no, excuse me. There we go. I was up too high. Okay, so Fayetteville State had a bye week, coach, so they didn't play. Bowie State, you called it, coach. It was a closer game than I thought. But Bowie State did beat Bluefield State 42-37. I think you picked Bluefield State. I picked Bowie, but I was I wasn't right by much. I wasn't right by much. Johnson
Yeah.
C. Smith blew out that young ball club Shaw 52-0. Livingstone gets blown out by Winston-Salem State 42-10. Lincoln gets blown out by Virginia Union 66-10. Excuse me, 66-21. Dang, Lincoln. Yeah, yeah, it's a rough go of it, man. Uh, Elizabeth City State had a damn good game against Virginia State, but they fell short 24-20.
All right.
And let's go to the standings real fast so far. So conference wise, coach, there's a 2-way tie between Virginia Union and Fayetteville State. Both of them are 4-0, 4-0 in their conference. Virginia Union is but on top 6-1, and Fayetteville State is 4-3. Johnson C. Smith is 3-1 in the conference, but they're 6-1 overall. Virginia State and Bluefield State is both 2-2. Virginia State being 4-3 overall, and Bluefield State being 3-4 overall. Winston-Salem State is 2-3. Both Livingstone and Winston-Salem State are both 2-3 in the conference, but they are Winston is 4-4 in the conference, and Livingstone is 3-4. Shaw is 2-3 in the conference, but they are 2-5 overall. Both Bowie and Shaw are 2-5. Bowie is 1-3 in the conference, and so is Elizabeth City State, uh, 1-3 in the conference, but they're all 1-6. And Lincoln, unfortunately, coach, they haven't won a game. They are 0-7.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that they having a rough go of it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there always gonna be a team that's well, as we say, the bottom feeder. But this is the games we got coming up this Saturday. We got Winston Salem State versus Johnson C. Smith. Who you got, Coach?
Winston-Salem State.
I'm gonna go Johnson C.
All
Smith.
right, all right.
Elizabeth City State versus Lincoln.
Say that again.
Elizabeth City State versus Lincoln.
Elizabeth City State.
I'm gonna put my faith in Lincoln. Lincoln gonna get their first win of the
Yeah.
year against
I don't
Elizabeth
see it.
City.
I don't see it.
I'm gonna put I don't put much, but I'm gonna go with Lincoln. Uh, I don't see it either, but just because. Fayetteville State versus Shaw. I got Fayetteville State.
I got Fayetteville State too.
Yeah. Bowie versus Virginia Union.
Virginia Union.
Bluefield State versus Virginia State.
Virginia State.
I got Virginia State as well, and then Virginia University of Lynchburg versus Livingstone.
I'm gonna go Livingstone.
I'm gonna go Livingstone as well. So that is it for the CIAA. We are going to go with the SIAC scores. All right, so Tuskegee beat all no school. Excuse me. Albany State beat Tuskegee 7-3. A very good defensive game for both ball clubs, Coach. I actually watched that game on HBCU Go. It was a good
Okay.
game. As far as if you're not a fan of defense, defensively, you're not gonna be a fan. But Morehouse beat Lane 31-7. Unfortunately, Coach, Kentucky Christian beat Central State 35-27. We
Oh
both
man.
we both picked Central State, but they fell short. Savannah State lost to Fort Valley State 7-0. Another defensive game. Clark Atlanta lost to Miles 27-20.
Oh
It was a good game.
yeah.
Benedict almost dropped one to Edward Waters, but they end up beating Edward Waters 31-27.
Okay.
And Kentucky State beat Franklin Pierce University 17-14.
Okay. Okay.
Now let's go to the standings. So Benedict is still strong. Coach, they hot right now. They 7-0, 6-0 in the conference. Albany State is 6-1. They 5-0 in the conference. Kentucky State is 6-2 overall, but they're 5-1 in the conference. Edward Waters is 4-3, but they're 3-2 in the conference. Morehouse is 3-4, but they're 3-2 in the conference. Savannah State is 3-4, but they're 2-3 in the conference. So is Allen, Fort Valley, and Miles are they're all 2-3 in their conference, but Allen is 2-5, so is Fort Valley State, and Miles is 2-6. Central State is also 2-6, but they're 2-4 in the conference. Overall, Clark Atlanta is 2-5, but they're 1-4 in the conference. Tuskegee is 2-5, but they're 1-4 in the conference. And unfortunately, Lane has not won a game all year so far.
Ooh. I wonder who will win if Lane and Lincoln play.
Probably Lane.
Yeah, I think so too.
Lane will get their first win. But how they've been playing lately, I don't know. They might, you never know. But But coming up this Saturday, we got Edward Waters versus Clark Atlanta.
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to Clark Atlanta.
I'm going to Edward Waters.
All right.
Miles versus Central State.
Central State.
I got Central State as well. Benedict versus Albany State.
I'm gonna go Albany State.
I'm gonna go Benedict.
Hey,
Um,
I'm going. I'm going with the upset in this case. You know.
I hear you. I hear you, man. Savannah State versus Morehouse.
Ooh, I'm gonna go Savannah State.
Allen versus Tuskegee.
Tuskegee.
I'm gonna go Allen.
All right.
And we got Fort Valley State versus Lane.
I'm gonna go Fort Valley State.
I can't pick Lane. Oh, I'm gonna go Fort Valley State. Lane's been horrible.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're having a rough go of it this year. Unfortunately. Okay, let's go to the MEAC. So the MEAC only had one game. A lot of teams have had bye week, so it was only Tennessee State versus Howard, and Tennessee State beats Howard 24-7.
Okay.
And let's do the standings.
Oh, before you go to the standards, I want to let you know, in one of the Facebook groups I'm in, there's kind of been a push for Tennessee State to join the SWAC. Some people are vehemently against it, but most people, would like to see Tennessee State join the SWAC West with Southern and Texas Southern and Prairie View and so on and so forth. What are your thoughts on that, bro?
Tennessee State. That'll be interesting. If anything, I think they need to go to the MEAC.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Somebody pointed that out. And basically they were saying, hey, when they joined the conference, they joined. It was like, if anything, they brought, culture and swag and things of that nature to the conference. A lot of people were saying basically the SWAC is on a decline.
Mm-hmm.
Other people were saying they should join the MEAC. The MEAC is a more solid and stable conference. And basically other people was like, the rivalries you would have if they joined the SWAC, Tennessee State against Southern, Tennessee State against Grambling, Tennessee State against Texas Southern and Prairie View. They basically were saying that these would be like extremely strong rivalries. So at the end of the day, I saw like people on opposite ends of the spectrum, some in the middle. I think slightly more people was in favor of them joining the SWAC. A lot of people was vehemently against them joining the SWAC. A lot of people was vehemently for them joining the SWAC. Others were kind of split in the middle. And like you said, some people like myself view them more as a MEAC school than anything. But I think if you could get Hampton back, North Carolina Central back, and Tennessee State in, I think that would be perfect for the MEAC, if you ask me.
I agree, man. They definitely need more ball clubs in that conference. Speaking of conferences, let me go to what they're looking at. Even though that one team played, which was Howard, so North Carolina Central was 5 and is still on top of the leading the pack 5-2. Delaware State is 4-3. So is South Carolina, being 4-3. Morgan State is 3-4. Howard's is 3-4, and Norfolk is 1-6. So one of the good things I can say about the MEAC, they don't have any teams that are 0 something. They all win a game. So all right,
Well,
and
technically at this point you could say the same for the SWAC, but I still think that the bottom of the MEAC is still stronger than the bottom of the SWAC.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Um, Let me see. All right, so we're gonna go to the SWAC, coach. So congratulations to Mississippi Valley. They finally won a game. They beat Lincoln from California 49-0.
No surprise.
Yeah, no surprise at all, but at least they not going 0 and something. But they did that last year against FAMU, so hopefully they get some more wins.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think they should schedule probably a few Division II schools the way Grambling did. I mean, it might not really help you overall, but at least it look better on your record.
I agree. I agree. Uh, Texas Southern blew out Virginia Lynchburg, of course, 61-10. Grambling barely beat uh, Arkansas Pine Bluff, 2016. Uh, Alcorn loses to Florida A&M, 33-28. Didn't they fire
Cedric Thomas?
Cedric Thomas?
No.
Oh,
Basically, from what I'm hearing, uh, shout out to Swagging the Fool. Somebody that I know that basically said he was talking to G, or he was following G and Swagging the Fool podcast. Basically, he was saying that uh, after Fred McNair left and they pivoted, and they wasn't going to get in a bidding war with Texas Southern over Fred McNair. And when they pivoted and went to Cedric Thomas, basically, I guess the contract they gave Cedric Thomas, they don't want to be in a situation that Southern was in with Eric Dooley, and that the situation Southern is currently in with Terrence Graves. They really can't afford to pay him not to coach. So they just going to have to ride it out from what I'm understanding.
mm. Well, recruit, recruit, recruit. That's
Yeah.
all I can tell Coach Cedric Thomas. He needs to be getting more talent in there. Because is it me or Grambling and Alcorn got smaller?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not just Grambling Alcorn, it's FAMU, it's Southern. I think they pointed this out a couple weeks on HBCU game day. Salute to them also.
Salute
Basically they
them
were
brothers.
saying, yeah, basically they were saying that these four schools they relied too much on a transfer portal. And just because you see players coming from bigger schools, that don't mean they're more talented.
Right,
So I'm gonna just kind of use Southern for example, and we gonna use Mike Franklin. All right, Mike Franklin played at UTEP. Mike Franklin played at Jacksonville State. So the perception is, these schools are on a higher level than Southern. You figure he is a good player. From what I'm understanding, I think he has. From my understanding, he had already graduated for one, and I think
hmm
he had 2 more years of eligibility left. So either he has two left or he has one left, either or. But from a production standpoint, I thought he was gonna be like a Gerard Sims, like a Lionel Nicholas, like a late Steele Adams, may he rest in peace. I thought he would be that type of guy in terms of be the power back to complement all of these smallish type backs like Trey Holly, like like Jason Gabriel, like Barry Remo. But truthfully speaking, from stylistically, he's the same as all of those guys. He wants you to throw him swing passes in the flats. So basically, he was like a huge guy that kind of played like a small guy to me. He wasn't the power guy I thought he would be. And at the end of the day, he just really didn't pan out. He ended up quitting. From what I'm understanding, he really didn't like it at Southern. And basically, I
mm.
mean, he was hurt early on. Maybe that factored into it. But from what I'm understanding, he just pretty much tapped out and he quit on his team. So does he plan on just saying, hey, I got my degree, I'm gonna just move forward with my life, or does he plan on pivoting and going to school elsewhere? I don't know, but I know from a
Yeah,
coaching
because that's a
perspective,
question I asked last week. Is he gonna jump in the portal or he just giving up in football altogether?
but I'm not gonna lie, but my personal perspective from a coaching standpoint, I wish him well. I really do. If I'm a coach, I would touch him with a 10-foot pole. The fact that you just quit on your team I mean, it looks bad to me. Now I don't know all the logistics because uh, the offensive tackle that transferred to Southern and he ended up hitting the portal in the spring. Basically, he was saying that he had a situation that Coach Graves and Southern's coaching staff like weren't sensitive to, so that's why he hit the portal. So I don't know all the logistics. I don't want to say one side is right, the other side is wrong, but from the optics of it, it just kind of looks like he quit on his team. So at the end of the day, you have to kind of be cautious when you getting players from bigger schools. You just assume they real talented. And somebody was pointing this out in my chat recently. They basically was like, if you look at the entire time he was at UTEP and Jacksonville State, he only had 200 yards rushing. So what made you think he was going to translate well to the SWAC and be like this dominant guy had Trey Holly not come? Now, don't get me wrong. As soon as Trey Holly came, a lot of those touches he would have got, they kind of all went to Trey Holly because in terms of talent, Trey Holly, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, Trey Holly is the most talented running back I ever saw come through Southern. And that trumps Lenard Tillery
That's saying
and
a lot,
Melvin
man.
Williams and Lindsey Scott and Steve Warford and Victor Ike and Jermaine Sharp, who also played at LSU. And Victor Ike came from the University of Texas. Steve Warford came from Cal. Trey Holly, you know, he supersedes all them guys from a talent perspective. But at the end of the day, just the fact that Mike Franklin came from a bigger program, it didn't necessarily translate the way Coach Graves and staff thought it would.
Yeah, man, and and we talked about it on previous shows and on the Southern Baller Show. That's going to be and JB talked about it as well. Joe Town. That's going to be one of the cons of the transfer portal. You think you getting the stud, but they don't fit into the scheme, or you just don't like the school altogether, and then it's going to happen.
And I mean,
Um,
not only that, but just one last point. They was pointing out on HBCU game day. Essentially, they was saying, we're just gonna kind of compare. Of course, at Southern, FAMU, Alcorn, Grambling, the expectation is to win. So, you think, well, hey, I need a quick fix. Like, we got to win immediately. Instead of you going out and getting a balance in a mix of guys from high school, guys from JC, and guys from bigger programs, and you mixing them and you developing and grooming talent,
right.
to develop them. They want the quick fix. They want the guy that they feel is ready made, and they get this guy from a bigger program. And that guy, he might not necessarily be as good as you think he is. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, but sometimes when guys come from bigger programs, they come with a lot of baggage. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
They just may think, well, hey, I'm a walk. All right, we just gonna say for LSU back in the gap. Like those guys, P. Richardson didn't solely rely on, transfer guys from LSU like Michael Hayes and Jermaine Sharp and Chris Cooper. Those guys weren't the entire cake. Those guys were just the icing on the cake that put Southern over the top. I mean, don't get me wrong, Chris Cooper, and especially Michael Hayes. Michael Hayes is the best wide receiver I ever saw come through Southern in my lifetime. Basically, Michael Hayes was a dog, but the team wasn't built on strictly Michael Hayes type guys. Like there were guys that, you know, he went and got and he recruited and they developed those guys, or even if those guys weren't developed that way, even if they just were that talented, he got those guys out of high school and boom, brought them to Southern. Whereas now, you hitting the transfer portal, you trying to get a bunch of juniors and seniors, and you just want plug and play. But like Jay Good said, you got to get guys that that you could groom and develop
A
and
freshman,
coach
yeah.
up. Yeah, yeah. Not, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think you should get a mix of all three. But if you look at the way these guys did it, and if you look at the way Trey Oliver and TC Taylor did it, it's like opposing points of view, and you can see why North Carolina Central and Jackson State are successful, whereas Southern, FAMU, Alcorn, and Grambling are struggling. And the thing, that irony is, Mickey Joseph, he's synonymous for being an excellent recruiter. That's why at bigger programs, Power 5 PWIs, he's been like a recruiting coordinator because, he's synonymous with recruiting. He's from New Orleans. He went to Nebraska, and at bigger programs and even at other FCS programs like Nickel State and other SWAC programs in general, he's synonymous with being a good recruiter. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand that there's a dynamic with, Doug Williams and a lot of big time Grambling boosters and big time alumni that not really letting him do what he do. But you can't always just hop in the portal to get that quick fix. You gotta develop talent too.
Yeah, and
So that's
I'm gonna
why
use.
one last point. That's why the opening game of the season when Trey Oliver had that T-shirt of hey culture over scheme, like that's a real thing in this context of him getting guys you know out of high school and him bringing them into this system and developing them. Like hey, clearly culture over scheme is a real thing for Trey Oliver.
Yeah, and speaking to when you said that uh, teams like North Carolina Central who do a great job recruiting. For example, to double down on what you mean, Jamari Taylor, who transferred to uh, Virginia, the Virginia Cavaliers, who's still doing the same thing he did to MEAC and SWAC defenses. He doing the same thing to those PWI schools. So that speaks to when we said earlier that a lot of HBCU ball clubs are breeding or recruiting grounds for PWI schools. But to go back to my point, after Jamari Taylor left, they never missed a beat in their running game. They never missed a beat. And I'm blanking on his name. Number one is doing the same thing. That comes from recruiting and coaching up your players. So
Yeah,
yeah,
developing talent. Yeah.
developing your players, and not just plugging and playing and getting them picking pieces out the transfer portal. What up, Big Red? He said salute, fellas. And Jada Six said a lot of coaches uh, a lot of coach firings happened lately. Yes, we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, and I mean he might be unaware, but you got multiple coaches on the hot seat in the SWAC, and I think the only thing that probably prevented Cedric Thomas from getting fired is the fact that Alcorn's financial situation may not be the best, but other than
They
that,
can't afford to
yeah, they
fire
can't
him right
afford.
now.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest with you. From a financial standpoint, if you look at the whole fiasco with Southern and Eric Dooley, like from a financial standpoint, like that's kind of setting them back. And not in the same situation with Terrence Graves, but we're gonna talk about that a little bit later on.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, man, it's definitely gonna be interesting going toward the end of the year, man. But yeah, like I was saying, we just talked about you earlier, Big Reg, man, about people need to support your channel and everything. But salute, man. Uh,
Oh, and I want kind of bring this up. I really like the community that you've built and that we've built in terms of Big Reg and 86 Ghosts, J6. Just the whole it's like a family environment. We support each other, so on and so forth. Even if we don't always catch the live stream, catch the playback, dropping something in the chat, especially Big Reg and 86 Ghosts. We building a community over here. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man. The cool brothers, man. They dope conversation, dope content. So definitely, man. Appreciate y'all, man. We appreciate you too, man. And Chris Mosley, that was the North Carolina Central running back that has taken over for uh, um, Jamari Taylor. Uh, Chris Mosley, he's doing his thing.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, the offensive line too. The offensive line really got after Southern in that first game of the season. Of course, now that we kind of towards the back end of the season, we saw minus Kelvin Givens, Southern defensive line is is not that good. But you still gotta give it to North Carolina Central and Trey Oliver like he doing his thing.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Now we got one more game here, and I saved it on purpose. Prairie View A&M, what you called, uh, beat Southern 24-3. What happened on that? I know you was at AW Mumford Stadium.
P.
So
Richardson Field, yes sir.
P. Richardson Field, yes sir.
No, A.W.
So
Mumford Stadium at P. Richardson Field.
yes sir. So
Uh
what
huh.
happened?
Well, I mean, basically, it was your typical, usual, festive, family friendly atmosphere. The only issue is, it's homecoming. You have a lot more people, and as a result, you have a lot of females with a lot of cleavage and a lot of booty hanging out. My mom was like, you know, oh my God, you see how they dress? I'm like, babe, you saw this last year. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is nothing new. And not only that, you can smell the smell of marijuana in the air too. You know what I'm saying?
Marijuana.
Yeah, but outside of that, you got a lot of people grilling, a lot of people boiling, a lot of people frying. And you just had a whole lot of going on. You got a lot of music, and that's one thing from a Louisiana standpoint. You got the versus battle coming up between No Limit and Cash Money. I'm gonna talk about that on my channel probably tomorrow, something like that. But I mean, you got a variety of different things going on.
when,
Uh,
when, when is that?
I think it's Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, damn. Okay, I'm
In fact,
definitely
let me
watching
see.
that.
I think it's the 25th, but I'm gonna double check. But I think it's the 25th, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, yeah, that's Saturday. But either
Okay.
way, basically, you got Zydeco, you got No Limit, Cash Money, Boosted, Webby, YB, a lot of Baton Rouge artists like Young Bleed and C-Loke and you just got a lot going on. You got Zydeco like J. Paul Jr., Love in the Stable, one of my, favorite songs that they play over the PA system in Southern. So at the end of the day, like you had a lot going on. It was a real family friendly, festive environment. Of course, you got a lot of the little youngsters. And unfortunately, during the game on campus, there was a shooting. And there was kind of a similar situation last year. But, when you get that many people from all these different areas, mainly, I ain't gonna lie, it's usually the youngsters, you know what I'm saying? The YNs, they call them nowadays. We just call them youngsters. Nonsense going on. So something happened. But in terms of the game itself, the same issues Southern has been having the entire season, they pretty much had on Saturday. They struggled from a special team standpoint.
Jay Good, what up, man?
They struggled defensively. They struggled offensively. And, truthfully speaking, I'm not gonna lie, I was talking to this guy behind me during the game. He said he played basketball and football at Prairie View. His name Perk Martin. We just talking. Basically, I'm not gonna lie, just watching Prairie View play. Prairie View is just a basic, fundamentally sound team. They're good defensively. They're solid offensively. The only area they really kind of struggling is from a special team standpoint. The kicker. Even though he made a field goal, you could tell he's not really a good kicker. But, Tremaine Jackson, he's already like the leading candidate to be UAB's head coach. UAB, they let go Trent Dilfer. They've
And
been
shout
doing.
out to Jay Good, man. And those who don't know, Jay Good is another part of the HBCU Fanatics. He be feeding us information behind closed doors. He's the one of the well, he was the guy that told us that about Tremaine Jackson. That's a surprise. He just got there. You think he gonna bite
Uh, I think if they give him the job, I think he would take it because it would be
on
an
money?
increase in money. But I'm gonna be honest with you. The guy was telling me behind me, Perk Martin. Shout out to him too if he within the sound of my voice. Basically, he was saying if Tremaine Jackson is still, because you got to realize, he was like one of the hottest D2 coaches last year, and he basically was saying if he's still there next year, he was like he don't think they could overtake like Jackson State this year, but he was saying, give him another year. They might not overtake Jackson State, but they're gonna be right there with him because, he's basically he was saying how solid they are defensively. And I ain't gonna lie, you can watch them play. They're just a fundamentally sound team. Southern still struggle offensively, even though they kind of seems like they took the snap count restriction off of Trey Holly. He got a lot more touches than he normally got. I think he had, well, like, if I'm not mistaken, like 19 carries for like 99 yards. And I'm not gonna lie, in terms of gap integrity, you know, there were a few instances where I'm like, oh, he's gonna break it. And before he could get daylight up, before he could make this one person miss, like Prairie would make the tackle. So I'm not gonna lie, they definitely are fundamentally sound defensively. They're a good defensive team. They solid offensively. I'm not gonna lie, they just an overall solid team. Southern up front on both sides of the ball. The offensive line, I think they did better than they normally do. I think a couple players that might have been injured were back, but they really couldn't pound the rock like they probably would want. Austin Strider, from a quarterback standpoint, he's struggling mightily in terms of trying to read defense. I think he had 12 completions, 21 attempts, one fumble, one interception. And I think the big issue with him is, shout out to Southern University legend quarterback Bryant Lee. He was in the chat last night, and he was saying, just watching him play, he feel like the big issue with him is he doesn't know how to take what the defense gives him. If they,
Shout out to
giving him,
Brian Lee.
yeah, if they're giving him a big play, take the big play. But if they're playing off and they're giving you something underneath, take that. And that's the issue with him. Like, he's extremely indecisive. I think too many instances, like, he looking for a home run when there's no home run to be gotten. He trying to make the big play. And it's like, bro, don't try to force it. Like, just like Brian Lee said, take what the defense gives you. But I think he struggles in terms of reading coverage. He's real indecisive. He ran a couple times. He didn't have a whole lot rushing yards, but I think he ran. He didn't run as often as Cameron McCoy. I think he better with making plays from the pocket than McCoy. McCoy
Mm-hmm.
is clearly a better athlete. I mean, if you could fuse their two talents together, I think you might have a decent quarterback. But at the end of the day, uh, the quarterback position, and basically was saying Southern University hadn't had a quarterback that passed for over 2,600 yards, if I'm not mistaken, since Austin Howard. The only reason why Austin Howard really didn't win a SWAC championship was because Grambling had Devontae Kincaid and Martez Carter,
Yeah.
which made a huge difference. And I think they hadn't had a quarterback to pass for over 3,000 yards. If I'm not mistaken, I think it might have been.
Along with Chad Williams at wide receiver.
Yeah. But I think they hadn't had a quarterback to pass for over 3,000 yards since maybe Brian Lee, if I'm not mistaken. So at the
Mm-hmm.
end, of the day, it's been like probably like right at 10 years since Southern has had a real good quarterback, almost 10 years. So that's the biggest issue. Southern needs an elite level quarterback like a Bryant Lee, like a senior year Quincy Reshart, like a Eric Randall, like at this point I would take a Sam George or Terrence Levy. They need a good quarterback. The offensive line play it leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, just think about it. I say Trey Holly is the most talented Southern University running back I've seen in my lifetime, but he, from a production standpoint, I mean, don't get me wrong, I know he was on the snap count restriction, but he doesn't have the production of a Melvin Williams Jr., of a Lindsey Scott Sr., Lenard Tillery, Steve Warford. He doesn't have those type of guys' production. So that goes to show you that this offensive line is nowhere near what the offensive lines of the 90s were. The defense, I mean, I'm not even going to say they're not as good as the 93 Dog Day defense or 97 defense or this, that, and the third. I'm talking about they're not as good as the defense of the last 2 years. I mean, clearly, the defensive line, I don't know why they don't start Demarion Johnson and play him more. LSU, uh, I think he a redshirt freshman transfer. I mean, I think he's better than the two defensive tackles that they're playing. I would start him if it was me. But I mean, clearly they miss Jelani Davis and 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 Willie Miles and Davin Cotton and I'm blanking on the other guy. Darius Harry. Like, they missed the four of them. I mean, even I think if they had Jelani Davis, who is at Kent State now, shout out to Jay Good for pointing that out. I mean, if they had him opposite end, I think that will help their defensive line a lot. But their defensive line is struggling. Their two linebackers are playing well. The secondary is struggling. The defense is struggling. The offense is struggling. They have I think the worst offense in the SWAC, the second to last defense in the SWAC. Special teams is bad. So they're struggling in all three phases of the game. Uh, and we knew it was going to lead to the eventual termination of head coach Terrence Graves. I mean, it was bound to happen at some point, bro. I mean, Southern, I'm not gonna lie, this in Baton Rouge football, college football in general. I point this out on my channel all the time. If you are on outside the town in Jaguar Nation, we expect and demand excellence. And across town in Tiger Lane, they expect excellence also. Truthfully speaking, I think it's a strong possibility that by the end of the season, both Ryan Kelly and Terrence Graves could be fired. Terrence Graves has already been fired. If LSU does not make the playoffs, it's a strong possibility that Brian Kelly's going to be fired. Also, of course, he's making a whole lot more money than Terrence Graves was making, but at the same token, they have a lot more money to burn on the other side of town. We talk about how the state of Louisiana owes Southern University over $1 billion. I guarantee they don't owe not one red cent to LSU. And not only that, but they have big time boosters that got money to burn. So they can afford to get rid of Brian Kelly and pay him handsomely to go away and not miss a beat. Whereas Southern, they still reeling from, paying Eric Dooley the $300K per year that they owe him.
That's crazy. And shout out to Jay Good. He said throws downfield too often.
Oh no, I'm not gonna lie. He kept looking for the big play that wasn't there, and I'm like, dude, you're not connecting on these long balls. Like one play, uh, I think he tried to throw it. If I'm not mistaken, I think he tried to throw it to Malachi Jackson or Corbett Brown or Darren Morris. He tried to throw it to one of those guys, and he overthrew him by 10, 15 yards. And I'm like, dude, you keep trying to force the long ball. It's not there. And like I said, he was just too indecisive. He didn't know if he wanted to take the check down. He didn't know if he wanted to go deep. He didn't know if he wanted to take off running. It's a lot. He just didn't know what he wanted to do too often. And, they struggled. I mean, he turned the ball over twice. He had less than 100 yards passing. He was 12 or 21. So I'm like, that's not really going to get it.
No, it's not. And let's go into the standards for the SWAC. So nothing, um, minor changes. So let me see. Go. So, of course, we all know on the east side, Jackson State is the leader of the pack. They're 5-1. Alabama State is 4-2. Bethune Cookman is 3-4. Florida A&M is 2-4. Alabama A&M is 4-3, and Mississippi Valley is 1-5.
Uh-huh.
On the west, we got Fairview A&M 5-2. Texas Southern 4-3. So is Grambling. Arkansas Pine Bluff is 2-4. Alcorn is 1-6, and so is Southern. They're 1-6.
Uh-huh.
So, before we go into the Terrence Graves situation, so we all agree that Fairview A&M is probably not, if they make it, which I believe they will make it to the SWAC championship unless something crazy happens. Um,
Bro, I don't mean to cut y'all. You can
no
pencil it
way.
in. You can pencil it in. Prairie
Yeah,
View is gonna go to the vet to Jackson Memorial Stadium to play against Jackson State for the SWAC championship. But I think, barring, Jackson State slipping on the banana peel, for all intents and purposes, when Jackson State and Alabama State played at Jackson State for homecoming, that was the de facto SWAC championship game. So barring
yeah.
some type of catastrophic collapse, Jackson State is just SWAC champion, and more than likely, they're the black national champion. Truthfully speaking, you got to give the devil his due. Got to call a spade a spade. Jackson State the team to beat in HBCU football. It just kind of remains to be seen if they played against, a couple like high profile FCS schools. What would they do if they played against a Montana State, those type of teams? How would they fare? But other than that, in terms of the realm of HBCUs, yeah, Jackson State the team to beat. I don't see. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Tremaine Jackson has done a good job. I think they're a fundamentally sound team. Uh, I think they play from a discipline standpoint in terms of penalties and turnovers and that type of thing. I think they play a much cleaner game than Jackson State. But in terms of talent, yeah, I ain't gonna
Overall,
lie.
they're gonna be so you
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you beat me
Jackson.
to my question, which I
Yeah, Jackson State got more horses in the stable, if that makes sense. No, not
yeah. So
horses. They have more thoroughbreds in the stable.
okay, all right. So maybe so you don't see North Carolina Central because I think North Carolina Central will come up on top on the MEAC. You don't see Central giving Jackson State or beating Jackson State.
No, I ain't gonna lie. I see them giving Jackson State a lot of problems. Do I see them beat Jackson State? No. No, not whatsoever. I don't really. I mean, like I said, upsets could happen, and they always do in HBCU lane. Uh, can somebody upset Jackson State? Sure.
Yeah,
Do I see it happening? No, I don't.
I agree. I I I think even though I love North Carolina Central running game, um, maybe not this North Carolina. I think the North Carolina Central ball teams in the past could have can beat this Jackson State now, but not this ball club. Now Chris Mosley will get his on the ground, but like you said, Jackson State got too many horses in the stable.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I'm not gonna say Jackson State defense is better than like Southern University, like 93 dog day defense. Maybe not even 97. I don't think 97. A lot of people hype up the 97 Southern defense. I don't see where they was as good as people say they were. I think 93 was way better, led by the late Sean Wallace. And that's the thing that pissed me off about this Southern team. Y'all dedicated this season to Sean Wallace, and y'all come out here playing like some squirrels week in and week out. But that's another story.
Mm.
But this Jackson State defense is good, and I think against better teams, better offenses, and better teams like Alabama State did, they're gonna put up way better numbers than a Southern, just your bottom of the barrel SWAC team. But at the same token, I think when the game is in the balance, when it's crunch time, they're gonna get the stops they need to get, and that's why it would have been interesting to see had Andrew Body and Alabama State, the last play of the game, had they run the play like they should have to the wide side of the field. It would have been interesting to see what they could have gotten. But honestly, I think in those type of moments, I think Jackson State defense gonna come up huge. So I think,
Especially when you got dudes like Reed Pullman or Quincy Ivory, you
yeah,
know, on the defensive side of the ball, making those clutch plays when they need to. So yeah, I definitely agree.
yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest with you. I see, if Jackson State, North Carolina Central had to play next week, I see it kind of being the same way Alabama State, Jackson State played out. Like that type of game, like a high scoring, instant classic type game that Jackson State will come out the victor in. You know what I'm saying?
I agree, man. What's good, people? Adrian Crook, what's good, brother? I was just
Man,
talking
man,
just talking about you, man, about how teams like we always say how teams like Grambling and Alcorn look small now. They need some recruit. They need to recruit better. Get some
and I mean
dogs in the trenches.
that's the irony. I mean, over the years, I mean, I always use the term. You always heard me use the term, especially when I refer to like nose guards,
Slop
like maybe
hogs, man.
slop holes. Grambling wasn't just synonymous for having slop holes on defense. Grambling was synonymous for having slop holes on the offensive line. I'm talking about offensive linemen like, like 6'7", like 350. You know what I'm
I
saying?
I,
And
I remember because they will be so big, them offensive linemen. That's why a lot of times they were better off, especially in with Martez Carter and Devontae Cade year. 2016. A lot of the offensive line was so big, they a lot of pass rushers would beat them because they were like big and they
And
didn't have
immobile.
fast feet, immobile.
Yeah, yeah.
But when them big jokers start leaning on you, Martez Carter started eating. But go ahead.
Oh no, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I remember one year in the classic. I kid you not. Like I don't know how this happened, but Devontae Kincaid and Martez Carter got hurt like simultaneously. Bro, I'm not gonna lie. Without the two of them in the game, it was a noticeable drop off
I remember that.
in terms of the way they look as a team. Those two players hid so many deficiencies. You know, the fact that those big slot balls were able to just lean on people, but without like having like an elusive back that was able to find holes and make them look better. When that backup running back and backup quarterback came in the game, it's like, damn, is that the same offensive line? Like they look like some big scrubs out here. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
You're right, because number 28, Kelly, he was the bruiser back, and he wasn't as elusive as Carter. So, with the offensive linemen being slower, the defenders, gave him enough time to, rally to the ball. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, because I remember I told you the story before. Like Southern had this defensive end, his name Joe Sykes. He played at West Virginia with Pac-Man Carter. I mean
Hmm.
Adam Pac-Man Jones, right? So Adam Pac-Man Jones went to the NFL, and Joe Sykes transferred to Southern his senior year, and he was a big defensive end. And I'm not gonna lie, like he had a decent season. I felt like I ain't gonna lie, he was real cool people. Like he fit in well in terms of like the environment and the culture. Like all of the Southern players that I had classes with, like he fit in well with them. Like you know, cool people. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But in terms of on the field, I felt like he was like overhyped and overrated. And I think he did decent against most teams. But man, when they played against Graham, oh my goodness, those two big offensive tackles just kind of had their way with him. And rest in peace to Doc. Doc Williams was an athletic trainer for both the Dallas Cowboys and for Southern. And he basically told Joe Sykes, like, hey, you had a good game. And me and one of my classmates, we kind of bumping each other, like we looking at each other like, So, you know, so he was like, nah, but we lost, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you really didn't play good in that game. I think deep down he kind of knew it. He ended up going to the Commanders. They were the Redskins at the time, and he made the final cut, but he didn't make the team. So I mean, they go to show he was talented, but when it came to going against like Grambling offensive linemen, like you had to be like a strong. Either you had to be extremely quick or strong. Like I remember, Southern had this other guy that went to local high school, Donaldsonville High School. His name was Michael Landry. I'm not gonna lie, Michael Landry was strong, so he was like what 6'4", 6'5", like 260.
Hmm.
And but I'm not gonna lie, he was throwing around a big. I think he had this big offensive tower that was like 6'6", like 340. And I'm not gonna lie, I saw that guy maul like the backup in when he came up in the game. But Michelangelo dude was so strong, bro. He just was like moving big boy around. So Grambling has been known for like averaging like 330, 340, 350 across the. I'm talking about across the whole offensive line. And the fact that y'all saying like they small up front, man, it's crazy how times have changed.
Yeah, man. They and like me and Adrian Cook have been saying, we joke about it. They look like a 1A school
Yeah, and I mean,
offensive line.
and bro, I'm talking about even
1A, 2A.
even when they were down, even when they were up in Coach Eddie Robinson days, like Grambling, Louisiana, they just like Southern got Southern Lab, Grambling got Grambling also. They got their feeder school too, and that area, North Louisiana, like they synonymous for having just big slop holes, and I don't know, maybe they feeder schools are not as good, but they don't have the kind of linemen they done had over the years.
Yeah, they have it, man. 'Cause I remember that offensive line, Martez Carter and Devontae Kincaid played behind. So yeah, yeah, man. Um, but going in before we go into the Coach Graves situation. This going to
In
the
fact, bro, I don't mean to cut you off. Did we do the MEAC?
yes,
We
we
did
did.
MEAC already.
Yeah, me didn't really have it was short.
Yeah, they had bye weeks. I knew we had bye weeks, but we picked the games for this coming week for the MEAC too, or what?
Yeah, we did.
All right,
We
all right,
did.
all right, all right.
Okay, so for Grambling,
They playing the Las Vegas Classic against Jackson State.
yep. And of course we everybody gonna pick Jackson State.
Man,
Um,
Jackson State gonna beat the brakes off of Grambling.
all right. And then of course we got Joe
And of
Southern
course, you know
Jaguars.
they're looking for revenge anyway because they upset Jackson State last year. But if you look at like the stat sheet, Jackson State dominated yardage, but they turned the ball over like I think 6 times, 5 or 6 times. So they lost the turnover battle huge. So that was the only reason why Grambling really beat them last year.
Yeah. And you're right. I don't think we did the who we thought was gonna win this coming up weekend for the MEAC, but
All right,
I'll we'll
no, we
cover it.
can knock it out real quick. I mean, real quick. We just gonna blow through it.
Okay, yeah, because there's only three. So
Yeah,
Delaware State versus North Carolina Central.
North Carolina Central.
I agree. I want to pick Coach Jackson, but I know better. On that defense, their secondary is it's not as worse as Norfolk State's. But it's not good. So definitely North Carolina Central. Uh, uh, ooh. Speaking of Norfolk State, they gonna have a rough one. They about to play one of the better teams in the MEAC, South Carolina State versus Norfolk State.
South Carolina State.
Yeah, it's not gonna probably not gonna be pretty. You know he fired his defensive coordinator, Mike Coach Vic.
Wow, that's
Yep.
crazy.
He said it was hard for him to do. He didn't really want to do nothing like that. But the defense have been. I've been watching the games, Coach. They defense have been playing that bad, especially in the
Dang,
secondary. It's been
dang,
atrocious.
dang.
Um, Morgan State versus Howard.
Howard.
I got Howard as well. And let's go back to the SWAC. So
All right.
Mississippi Valley versus Alcorn.
Alcorn.
I'm, I'm taking Valley.
Nah, Cedric Thomas struggling, but I think if you lose the Valley, I think they can't afford to fire him, but I think they would try to.
I
You
think
can't
Valley
afford to
can
lose
get
the
they.
Valley.
I think Valley can get their second game of the win against these Braves, man.
Nah, I ain't gonna lie. Cedric, Alcorn can't afford to lose the Valley. Trust me.
Hey, it's the SWAC. Things can happen.
Yeah,
Um, Prairie View A&M versus Lincoln. Prairie View gonna get the win.
yeah.
This might be interesting. Alabama State versus Alabama A&M.
Alabama State.
Alabama State, but they better be careful with A&M. That may be a trap game.
Yeah, I mean, I know Cornelius Brown 40. He probably gonna look to have a good game, but outside of Jackson State, I don't see nobody. I don't even see Prairie View beating Alabama State, to be honest.
No, I don't see it either. Um, but Florida A&M versus Southern.
Uh, I think Southern probably play good, play deep. I ain't gonna say good. I'm gonna say they're gonna be serviceable in the first half, but as usual, they're gonna fade in the second half, and FAMU gonna win.
I'm not gonna lie, y'all disappointed me. I'm going FAMU as well.
Hey, people think I'm just blowing smoke when I say Southern ain't gonna win another game the rest of the season. No, I legitimately believe that.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I mean, even though you say, we always laugh about how Grambling cheated Kentucky State to beat
Now
to
that's the
beat them.
game I think y'all can win. If y'all lose to
I don't think
Grambling,
I don't think they're gonna beat I don't think they're gonna beat Grambling either. To be truthful, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. This year, interest in the Bayou Classic is way down.
Hold on,
I,
let me ask Adrian Crook if you still there, brother. Be honest. I know it's been bad, but you think y'all drop a game to Grambling? Y'all think that y'all that bad? All the Southern fans, uh, put what y'all think in the chat.
bro, me and you talk about this all the
I
time.
I think y'all
Oh,
can get y'all bad, but y'all not that bad.
man, bro,
Hopefully not.
I say this all the time, bro. Listen to me good. We talk about this. I am the voice of Jaguar Nation.
Yeah.
What the fans are thinking, that's what I'm saying. I don't think Southern winning another game this year, bro.
Damn.
You
That's
see,
crazy.
you say facts, huh? Mhm.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think they win in another game. And I mean, the thing about it is he said we got a slim chance. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think the thing about it is the fact that
I think
Jay
y'all
Good
have a slim chance. Go ahead, man.
the thing that Jay Good, man, shout out to Jay Good. Like I said, he the behind the scenes member of HBCU Fanatics. Of course, at one point, whenever he get everything straight, it's gonna be the three of us instead of the two of us. But he pointed this out. Like if you look at Southern's team from a roster standpoint, especially if you look up front on both sides of the ball, a lot of these guys is minus Kelby Givens. A lot of these guys is starting. They probably wouldn't even make the team in the 90s. And at best they'd have been backups. And the backups are not even serviceable. So, you know, and not only that from a talent standpoint, a lot of these guys probably wouldn't have made the team in the 90s. Realistically, if just going up and down Southern roster, the only guys I could say legitimately be like, oh yeah, he back in the gap, he would have made the team is Trey Holly, Kelby Givens, uh, Mike Jones Jr., Vince Page Jr. Like, and maybe a Marion Asbury. But the rest of the team, like from a talent standpoint, is a dramatic fall from grace from where Southern once was. So I don't see them beat nobody the rest of the way. It's gonna take Southern, and I'm not gonna lie, it would have been interesting to see what Southern could have done had they not hired Terrence Graves and hired Fred McNair, like from the outset. But from a timing standpoint, of course, essentially Fred McNair was trying to leverage his way into more money and put Alcorn and Texas Southern against each other in the bidding war. It really didn't work out in his favor. And now essentially he's the interim coach. But, even him, I don't see him really being able to do a whole lot with this team because it's don't get me wrong, and I said this on my show last night. Eric Dooley wasn't a good coach, but he could recruit. Terrence Graves can't do either one. And they pointed this out in the chat. Like, if you look at like the 2010s, like this current staff basically was getting mollywopped by the other better coaches in the SWAC. So if you look at minus maybe Fred McNair, if you look at the collection of Southern coaches that they have on a roster, like they all SWAC retreads, and they are not elite level coaches. In fact, Blackwater Bayou, salute to him. He pointed this out. As soon as they hired Terrence Graves, he was like, man, he was like Terrence Graves when he was the defensive coordinator at Southern. He was trash. And Southern, that was one of Southern's worst defenses over the years.
Damn.
So I'm not gonna lie, Jaguar Nation was never sold on Terrence Graves to begin with. It was saying clearly, I talk about the issues, we talk about Roman Banks, but like Jay Good and I have been talking behind the scenes, it's above Roman Banks in terms of the issues they have. Primarily, it's Southern board directors, the trustees, board of directors, whatever you want to call them, the board, basically the board, like they make all these decisions. Essentially, Terrence Graves hiring was more of a political thing, and like we've been talking about behind the scenes, like it's not just Southern, it's just HBCUs in general. When you, I, and Jay Good, not Jay Good, you, I, and Big Joe Town, salute to him too. They talking about y'all talking about the Eric Reed thing, but part of the issue is, you got the good old network, good old boy network in HBCUs, but at the same token, Like that's one thing they need to move away from. Southern, is synonymous for this. I think that's why, when it comes to like basketball and small budget sports, Roman Banks, especially when it comes to basketball, Roman Banks, he was a very good basketball coach. He got an eye for talent when it comes to picking coaches. Uh, he fumbled the ball when it came to Eric Dooley, but he didn't want Terrence Graves. The board wanted Terrence Graves. That's why they ended up hiring him. And of course, the way they let him go, if you want the full scoop, I talked about it last night on my channel. I don't like the way they hired Eric Dooley. I don't like the way they fired Terrence Graves. But they got to get this one right in terms of the next head coach, because at the end of the day, like the board, when it comes to their hiring practices in terms of hiring head football coaches, the last one they got right from the outset was Pete Richardson. Yeah, they got Pete Richardson right, but after that, Stump Mitchell, that was a trash situation, a brother-in-law deal where him and the AD were like frat brothers, and they just lucked into Dawson Odom because Stump Mitchell was another one. He couldn't coach, but he could recruit. So basically, Dawson Odom took that team. It had a lot of talent. It had Dre Joseph, Lenard Tillery, and even with the APR issues and everything they had, he won a SWAC championship with that team, and they were competitive every year, but they couldn't beat Alcorn. Then they pivoted to Jason Rollins, even though they really wanted Marshall Falk, from what I understand, and he didn't work out. Then you had the whole Eric Dooley fiasco. Then after Eric Dooley, you pivot from Dooley to Terrence Graves, and now from Terrence Graves to Fred McNair. So at the end of the day, they've done a terrible job in terms of the board, in terms of hiring head football coaches. They need to get it right if they want their program to return to the glory years, those 90s, like early to late 90s, from 93 to 99. If you want to get back to that, you got to do a good job hiring his next head coach. And of course, I talked about it on my channel. They got an infinite, I ain't gonna lie, they got so many lists out there, bro, in terms of who Southern should hire, an infinite amount of candidates. Some people want the celebrity coach in terms of they won't go back to Marshall Falk in terms of, he was a candidate before the NFL Network. Supposedly, nobody had been able to confirm or deny that for sure, but from what I hear, that's what it was going to be. Other people want, like myself, we want more of a proven guy like Joe Taylor from West Georgia, and other people. You said Kevin Falk. Other people, you know, Kevin Summer, probably you could scratch his name because he had a DUI recently. He got terminated from the
Mm.
University of Maryland. Other people talk, but people like Deshaun Foster and what the boy name who Penn State fired with his name, James Franklin.
James Franklin, yeah.
James Franklin, Coach O, Art Browse, Matt Leone, who's the offensive coordinator at North Carolina Central, who also was a assistant coach at Southern. Of course, you know how I feel about the white head coach at the HBCU. So they got a variety of different routes Southern could go. But more than anything, I just want them to get it right.
Let me ask you this, and because of some unfortunate things happen on the campus of Southern, where young brother Caleb Wilson was um, unfortunately deleted because of alleged
Here's an incident.
yeah, Alpha Phi Alpha hazing incident.
Uh-huh.
So will that trickle down into the atmosphere as far as, okay, something else bad and happened? The football team is not playing well, uh, or the football program is not up to our standards, and then this happened. So they everybody looking at Banks like.
Honestly, no. In fact, I'm sorry. Finish what you were saying, bro.
Yeah, so of course, understand Banks has nothing to do with the foolishness that happened on campus, but
Mhm.
because it's hot right now, things hot right now, in a negative way. He'll be smart to make the right decision instead of picking from um, the old HBCU guard as far as the next head coach. You think should be the case?
Well, I think the issue is, you know, a lot of people have been talking. When I talk with the guy from from PV, Perk Martin, that sat behind me at the game. He was saying this, but a lot of people that I talked to behind the scenes that's like in these HBCU streets that follow like Swag and the Fool and Jaguar Journal and Carlos Brown and people that follow like every single content creator in the space like myself and PV versus everybody and BJ Jones and everybody. Basically, they were saying that you know Roma Banks, it was his decision to hire Eric Dooley. And Eric Dooley was from that P. Richardson coaching tree. However, he never really wanted Terrence Graves. And not only that, but the board of directors, they really, when it came to that hiring, they didn't give him full control. And, you know, like I said, if you go all the way back to Stump Mitchell, like even that situation was, hey, the AD is my frat brother, and that's the reason why, I hired him. So, it's a lot of like brother-in-law type of deals, a lot of good old boy network, a lot of favoritism, a lot of politics, that type of thing, brother-in-law type crap. So at the end of the day, I mean, don't get me wrong, this happens everywhere because remember, I don't know if you remember Rich Rodriguez. Rich Rodriguez was a heck of a coach. But when
Okay,
Miles left,
he said Banks has never hired a football coach. Period. Okay, go ahead, Coach.
yeah, but yeah, and he right. I mean, don't get me wrong. From what I understand, he did want Dooley now, but from my understanding, he really never had the green light to just kind of hire whoever he wanted. You know what I'm saying?
Then, well, let
But
me rephrase. Anybody who's in charge, since everything is hot right now on the campus, they need to make. Would you
the
agree they
right
need to make
decision.
the right decision?
Yes.
Because Southern fan base is pissed right now. Go ahead, Coach.
Oh, they highly pissed. They highly pissed. And that's the thing about it. Some people that I really don't believe in that, but a lot of people feel like because of the Caleb Wilson situation, may he rest in peace. There's a lot of bad juju, this, that, and the third. I don't think it's bad juju because I don't believe in that. I think if anything, it's bad publicity. And of course, they had another recent hazing incident. But at the end of the day, they need to get it right. More than anything, the hazing situation aside, the recent shooting on campus during homecoming, a lot of publicity going back to last year in terms of the way these young ladies are dressed or whatever the case may be. All of that aside, we just talking about just from a football standpoint. Jaguar Nation, just like Tiger Nation across town, and Baton Rouge from a college football standpoint, we piss excellence, we demand greatness, and you just can't be half-assed as a coach, whether you at Southern, whether you at LSU. And of course, I know a lot of Southern fans gonna be like, "F LSU, we don't care about them." I'm just using it as a point of reference in this case. They gotta get this right because I can tell you right now, Saturday when Rattler Nation, when FAMU come to A.W. Mumford Stadium, Pete Richardson Field, it's gonna look like a ghost town. Like, I know some people looking at the clips on my channel and it was like, man, coach, it wasn't full for homecoming. That's not true. What happened was it was raining off and on. So people didn't want to get wet. Because at first I thought there was an incident on the west side in the student section. Because I saw people running out the stands and running for cover. They didn't want to get wet. So a lot of people ran out the stands.
Right.
So when it stopped raining and the sun came out, the stands were full. Then guess what? It got cloudy and it started raining again, and everybody ran under again. But I'm gonna put it like this: the way those stands look when it started raining, how empty it looked when I put those clips on my YouTube channel, it's gonna look like that the whole game is coming week, and it's gonna look like that for the last game. So these last two games, a lot of Jaguar Nation, they basically gonna show they basically, and I'm not gonna lie, when the Facebook groups I'm in, they basically saying they boycotting. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm never gonna boycott. I don't care if they lose every game. Now, don't get me wrong, I might be pissed. I might leave early like I did during the Stump Mitchell era. Like, hey, they getting the brakes beat off. I'm like, man, F this, I'm gone. And me and my mom and I, we would pack up our stuff and we would leave. So that's the only thing that would happen. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna I'm gonna always support. I'm a member of Jaguar Nation for life. If Senior was on this side of the grave, may he rest in peace too. He would go to every home game. Now, just like I would be, he would be pissed if they was losing, but he gonna always support. But to get everybody back on board and to get things back to the way they used to be, it's imperative uh that the board they make the right decision. They hire a good coach. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a variety of different directions they could go in. Like I said, you could go maybe like the celebrity route in terms of the way Jackson State hired Dion, and you could maybe go well like a Marshall Faulk type candidate, or you can go in like the Texas Southern Mississippi Valley route and hire maybe like a Teddy Bridgewater. Or you can go the route of maybe like a Kevin Falk. Or you could go the route of, I call it the Pete Richardson route. Or maybe to use a more recent reference, Tremaine Jackson route, where you can hire an established coach already, whether we talking about like maybe a Trey Oliver or a Chinnisberry. I doubt that you have enough money to get the two of them to leave from their respective institutions. Maybe you could hire like a Joe Taylor. Maybe you could hire a Dr. Alvin. What's his name? I talked about him. Maybe a Quinn Gray or a Teddy Keaton. So at the end of the day, either you could go the route of a established Division II winner, like maybe like a Quinn Gray. You could go the celebrity route, or maybe like a Marshall Falk. Or you could go the NFL vet guy like the Teddy Bridgewater, the Kevin Falk, that route. Or you can, I mean, there's a variety of different routes you could go, but you got to get it right. Me personally, I prefer a proven head coach. I prefer the Pete Richardson, Tremaine Jackson route, where you got to establish head coach that is a proven head coach, a guy that is a proven program builder, that type of guy. I prefer to go that route. You know what I'm saying? The reason being is no disrespect to Marshall Falk or Kevin Falk or any of those like high profile guys. Like, it's too fresh. Deion Sanders worked out for Jackson State. Eddie George worked out for Tennessee State. We really don't know if Chris Dishman gonna work out for Texas Southern, if Terrell Buckley gonna work out for Valley.
Yeah, Terrell Buckley
We,
sometime, but yeah, you're right.
yeah, we don't know if Deshaun Jackson is gonna work out. We don't know if Mike Vick gonna work out. A lot of
Right.
these NFL, stalwarts that were like this Hall of Fame, or even if they're not Hall of Fame, if they like extremely high profile NFL players, we don't know if these guys are gonna work out. But we know somebody like a Tremaine Jackson, he gonna come in and he done already got stuff done in Valley. So that's the route I prefer to go. Truthfully speaking, whether it's on the FCS level like a Joe Taylor, or whether it's on a Division II level like a Quinn Gray. Either way, and I'm not gonna lie, if fam you was smart, Quinn Gray will be their top candidate as we speak.
I
But if
agree.
I was
Stay,
them, I
stay,
wouldn't
stay with the
fire.
homer.
Yeah, if I was them, I wouldn't fire James Cozen anyway, because you don't have an athletic director. There's no stability in that situation. So at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie, not just Southern, but FAMU, uh, Alcorn State,
Alcorn.
Grambling
Yeah.
State. Well, we know Alcorn State, they probably just gonna ride it out with Cedric Thomas. But even if Grambling decides to move away from Mickey Joseph, if I was them, I would stick with him too. I think at the end of the day, I think Southern and FAMU, they need to get a proven coach that could get the job done. But if I was FAMU, I would go with Quinn Gray. If I was Southern, I would go Joe Taylor. That's my personal opinion. Because
Okay.
not only is West Georgia uh, a powerhouse like HBCU, but they're doing big things on the FCS level in general, and that's one thing Jay Good pointed out behind the scenes. He like, you don't want to just be like an elite level SWAC team or elite level HBCU. You want to be a elite level FCS team, to where, hey, if you had to go play, maybe like a Montana State, or when you playing all of these other teams from the Southern Conference, when you playing these Southern Conference teams, you just basically want to go on a bum bash. You want to beat the brakes off of Nickel State and McNeese State and Northwestern State. In a Southern Conference team, they shouldn't even be looking your way. And it's to a point, it pissed me off to no extent that even these bottom feeder Southern Conference teams, they play SWAC schools and they beat them. So anytime moving forward, the next coach you want to hire, whenever you play a Southern Conference team, you want to beat their ass in the ground. So that's why you want a guy that's a proven FCS coach, that could turn your team into a FCS powerhouse. The highest Southern has been ranked, I think, is like number 5 in the FCS, and that was in those glory days in the '90s. That's what you want to get back to. You want to get back to. You could play against any FCS school, not just Jackson State, not just MEAC, not just SWAC. You want to be able to play everybody, and if even need be lower level FBS schools. You want to be able to compete and maybe potentially beat a ULM or Tulane
Oh,
or
South
Louisiana Tech, those
Alabama.
type of schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, reason why I use ULM and ULL and Louisiana Tech and Tulane, because these are schools that's in the state that Southern has actually played. I'm not saying you
Right.
should be compete against LSU, but the 2 times Southern played in a Big Easy Classic against Tulane, and like I said, don't get me wrong, Tulane had J.P. Lossman and Patrick Ramsey as their starting quarterbacks. Even though both of them didn't do great in the NFL, they both were NFL quarterbacks. Southern got the lead, and then Tulane made the adjustments, and Tulane never looked back in either game. I mean, I don't mind you losing to Tulane, but at least be competitive. They
Right.
were competitive for like maybe a quarter and a half. And even as legendary as Pete Richardson was, when Tulane coaching staff made the adjustments, it was a it was a no contest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. And let me get to what the brother's talking about. Agent Cook said, "I can't see it. See it. The board needs to step back a lot." He also said, "We can steal a coach," and he said they turned down Falk because of past history. Hmm.
Well, no. Well, when they tried to get him, remember the NFL Network scandal broke after that.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
so that's what they did. They pivoted and they went to Jason Rollins. Because I'm not gonna lie, I think had you had a prime coach, like maybe like a prime Pete Richardson, or maybe even Dawson Odoms. I think with that team, there are a lot of scenes on their team, and people talk about how inconsistent Glenn Bubba McDaniel was. But that next year, had you started him from the outset, had Dooley not messed that situation up, Glenn Bubba McDaniel could potentially lead you to a SWAC championship. Even if they wouldn't have beat Jackson State, I think it would have been a competitive game. But with Bashawn McCray and Harold Blood, they gave you no chance to win, and you wait till you in such a big hole, then you put him in the
Especially
game.
Bashawn McCray.
Oh man, that boy was a glorified running back to keep it a
Yeah.
buck. Really, that's what Cameron McCoy is right now. So at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie, like uh they probably would have hired Marshall Falk because you gotta realize, like I said, Deion Sanders was at Jackson State, had that NFL network scandal not broke. And that's the thing about it. It ended up clearing for him, but it just bad timing. So that's why people like, hey, Southern should hire Coach O or Art Browse. The fact that both of those coaches had lack of institutional control from a PR standpoint, Southern wouldn't touch Coach O nor Art Browse with a 10-foot pole. And think about it. Um, uh, Hugh Jackson wanted to hire Art Browse as his offensive coordinator at Grambling. You see, Grambling initially approved it, then they shot it down after the fact because, hey, if you had them issues at Baylor, we don't even want any association with you. So that's why Southern wouldn't even look at Coach O and Art Browse and even Kevin Sumlin at this point. I think because he was a candidate during that Marshall Falk time too. But you know, somebody I knew somebody that knew him that said supposedly he has an abrasive personality, and in addition to that, he would just use Southern as a stepping stone to PWI Power 5 job back into that realm. And of course, a couple of people talk about how he had a white wife. I don't care about him having a white wife. I just care that his personality wouldn't fit with Jaguar Nation. We, down home, South Louisiana country people. From what I'm understanding, his personality would really rub us the wrong way. But the fact that Maryland let him go because of the DUI, it don't even matter at this point anyway.
Yeah, man. And Jay Good said supposedly a hiring firm selection committee is going to be conducting the hiring process. Okay. He said, Adrian Cook said they're going to give us the names we've been saying as fans. Okay.
Well, I
Uh,
mean, as long as they don't just say, "Hey, we're gonna get you a recycled swag coach. We're gonna keep Fred McNair. We're gonna go to Broderick Favre. Or we're gonna go, to one of these guys that have been a swag lifer, like a Terrence Graves and and the entire coaching staff you got. We don't want them type of cats. And somebody in the chat, in my chat last night, was say essentially, you say you don't want to swag retread Trey Oliver and Chennis Berry. That would constitute that. I say no. You have to use context when I'm saying this. Yeah, Chennis Berry and Trey Oliver both coached at Southern. They both coached in the SWAC. But from my point of view and my perspective, based on the layout I gave, they wouldn't constitute SWAC retreads because even though both of them been assistants in the SWAC, neither one of them been a head coach in the SWAC.
Never been
So
a
that's
head
what I
coach,
mean.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so you got to take things into context. So if you brought in like Project 5 right now, yeah, I would have a problem with that.
Oh,
But
heck
even
no, not Roger Five. Roger Five. Is it fair to say, I'll tell you a quick story. Well, Roger Five was blessed to have Devontae Kincaid and Martez Carter and all
Eric
the
Dooley
other.
was too. That's what really
But,
when they say I
yeah,
don't mean to cut you off,
Fives,
but
no.
when they
You
say
good.
Dooley is this offensive guru, no, all of that was Kincaid and Carter, bro. All of it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I ain't a fan of Fives, man. But anyway, um, Big Red said, send John Harbaugh to the FCS for real, man. John
Don't send him to
Harbaugh need
Southern, but he can come to FCS.
he need to go somewhere because he definitely need to go somewhere. And then Adrian Cook said, or Coach Cole, same boat.
Well, even somebody brought up Henry Frazier the third, even though he backed down at the D2 level. The fact that I'm not gonna lie, when Prairie View was going 66 and they lost 60 games in a row, the fact that he took that program and he won a SWAC championship with him, hey, that speaks volume for him. But at the same token, for you to leave and say I'm a program builder, like I don't know. I'm not saying nothing happened behind the scenes with him, but it kind of gives you that vibe. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, even if he legitimately is a program builder, cool. But man, look, hey, even him, I think he did a good job building Prairie View up. But I would, at this point, let him stay D2. I wouldn't want him at Southern.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Um, okay, man, let's go ahead and wrap it up, man. But yeah, y'all definitely need to. I hope I'm be watching Southern, especially when the season over. I'm gonna be watching them closely to see what moves they're gonna make.
Well, you got to
Yeah,
realize, from what I'm understanding, Jay Good and I talk about this behind the scenes. Like that search committee is like literally, I don't know how when you get these search committees, how they come to a decision or how they determine who will be the best fit for your school. But from what I'm understanding, they at work right now as we speak. So they need to be. But like I said, even if, Adrian Cook is right, if they give us the names we want, I'll be cool with that. I mean, I want somebody that's a proven program builder and that's a proven head coach. Like I said, no disrespect to Marshall Falk, Quinn. I mean, I would take Quinn Gray to be truthful. But no disrespect to Marshall Falk, Kevin Falk, but an NFL like legend or a former NFL player that doesn't have a proven track record as a head coach, it's kind of sketchy. And I mean, both of them from Louisiana, I think they would be able to recruit Louisiana, but what are they from an X and O standpoint? Because I'm not gonna lie, Dooley, I give him credit. He could recruit. Now, don't get me wrong, he couldn't evaluate nor develop quarterback talent, but he could recruit. He just couldn't coach. Terrence Graves couldn't do either.
yeah, yeah, and we saw it. But Coach, let everybody know where they can meet you and see you.
You could catch me here on YouTube let me backtrack. For those individuals that's trying to collaborate, email me at coach67sportstv at gmail.com. You can also catch me at Coach67 Sports TV on all social media platforms. However, I am primarily here on YouTube at Coach67 Sports TV. For all my diehard members of Jaguar Nation, come over to my channel. I got a couple more shorts dropping on tomorrow leading up to the game against FAMU on Saturday at AW Mumford Stadium, Peterson Field. Of course, most of my views come from my post game reactions. So if you're a HBCU follower, you like HBCU football, be certain to catch my post game live stream after Southern University versus FAMU. But we appreciate everybody that came through. All our day one subscribers have been rocking with us since day one. Uh, all the Southern Baller Show of HBCU Fanatics, all the new subscribers, and everybody's been rocking out with us. We appreciate y'all to the fullest. And salute to the awesome and amazing LDBC. Y'all have a blessed, phenomenal evening. Peace and blessings to the
Yeah,
family.
yes, sir. And this was another installment of the HBCU Fanatics. Y'all, please hit my like button, share, subscribe. We're gonna see y'all next Thursday, same time
No,
around
no, no,
7.
no, no. Well, HBCU Fanatics, we're going to see y'all next Thursday, but we prefer y'all HBCU Fanatics. Come on over to the Southern Baller Show on Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't wait till next Thursday to come on back. Come on back Thursday, you dig? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Come
I
on
was, I
back.
was gonna I was
Come on
gonna get
back
to that.
Sunday.
I was
Yeah,
gonna get
yeah.
to that, coach, but you beat me to it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Sunday 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, the Southern Baller Show. We talk about uh top 25 college football and NFL football. This is the football and sports and boxing channel in general. So come on through
hmm
and enjoy this good football talk on Sunday, NFL and college, you dig?
yes, sir. Y'all also make sure, like Coach said, y'all check us out every Sunday around 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for the Southern Baller Show. Man, we talk about all the sports, man. Well, most of the sports news, but um, I appreciate y'all so much. But y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night. Y'all be blessed.